Hey everybody, my name is Sharon Quinn and I'm also known as the original Runway Diva, and you are watching Model Behavior. Class is officially in session. My guest lecturer today is film director and producer Shaheed Shaheed. Shaheed has also been in the fashion industry for over 40 years. Welcome to Model Behavior, Shaheed Shaheed. Hi.
Hi.
How you doing? Okay.
I am wonderful.
So, Shaheed, you've done films. I've had the pleasure of being in one of your films. The Smooth the Game is Dead.
Right.
Now,
right.
you've run, how many films have you actually done of your own?
Actually, I've done 4 full features of my own, a couple of documentaries, and many different independent films for other different people in the business.
Okay, now what made you even go into film?
Well, coming from the modeling industry, it's like, you know, you be in front of pictures all the time. You're shooting in front of photographers all the time. That's kind of like, in the modeling industry, we call that silent acting. Mm-hmm. So eventually, once you get finished modeling career, you want to go into, you know, talkies. Mm-hmm. So you want to be able to talk. You want to be able to say something after being in front of the camera for so many years doing silent stuff. You want to be able to talk, and you want to be able to prolong your career. So if you want to prolong your career in any type of industry, you got to learn the business. You know, they call the business show business, but it should be business show. You should show your business, learn the business before you show it. But people get it mixed up, so they wound up being a talent and, you know, all these different things like that. You know?
Now, The Game is Dead was your first film,
That was my first full
right?
feature film, yeah.
Now,
actually, we did a play. It was a play first, and then from the play, I got some kids together, and I said, well, we're going to do a film. They said, you're crazy. I said, well, no, what you mean? We're going to do a film. So I took a 2-week course somewhere in New York City about how to make films, and I booked this job in New York, and it was just for men, and I made this little bit of money. I went out, bought me some cameras, got me some people, and we went to work.
You took a 2-week course, and you just did it off of that?
Well, I didn't have enough to go to a film school, so the 2-week course was able. I had already knew what pictorial pictures should look like. Mm-hmm. Coming from the model industry. You know what a picture looked like. I actually didn't know what I was doing, but I knew what I was doing. You know, my subconscious mind knew what it was doing, but my normal state of mind didn't know what I was doing. I was just shooting, and we was just, the adrenaline and all the whole thing and the aspect of just being able to make a movie got us going, and we just did it, and we shot enough frames and film until we got a full feature film. And then I got a guy from New York by the name of Supreme Wilder. He came and he did the editing and everything. And that's how we got it together. Now
you got like 6 or 7 films under your belt now?
Yes.
So going back, do you ever go back and look at your original work?
Oh God.
Because I go back and look at my first shows, and I'm horrified.
Every now and then you get the urge to go back and look, but I can't look at it that long because it's like, wow, okay, I got other things to do that I'm trying to do before it's all over. So I want to look at them, but you do go back, have a tendency to go back to look up and say, wow, that was something. So it's like everything is frozen in time. It's like, man, you remember when you were young, you remember when you were younger, you remember you did this, you remember you did that. Some of the things you did then you won't do now, but different things, and you learn so much throughout the years to just keep it moving and keep it going, and everything is.
You had a really successful career, and you real humble. I love this spirit about you, but you a little crazy to me because you don't think you're as great as you are, or maybe you do think it and you just keep that to yourself. But you had an amazing career as a model, and you still model from what you're telling me, right?
Yes, I've been blessed. You know, the Lord has blessed me to really be able to turn my whole life around and be able to pursue a modeling career or art career, just to be able to be respected and, you know, all those things up above. You know?
Now, you said it turned your life around. How did you even get started in modeling?
I was hanging with a friend, and he was going out with a friend, a model. Her name was Beverly Johnson at the time.
Oh, okay.
And he was hanging out with her, and we used to go to Joe Grant's studio in New York City, and they would take pictures and stuff like that. And one day they said, hey, you should take some pictures. And I went and took some pictures. And
that's how it started?
That's how it started. And then what happened, well, actually, you know, just hanging out in the studio with them, you know, watch them take pictures, I didn't, you know what it was going to be. But I knew that it was something that I liked to be around because it was a beautiful woman, beautiful people, just everybody in the business seemed like they had something going on. If a person didn't have nothing going on, they acted like they had something going on, like writing plays and doing this and doing this. Everybody had something
Some sort of hustle going on, yeah.
So it was something that I really loved doing because, you know, I used to be a boxer.
I did not know that.
You know, before I was into the modeling game, you know, I was pursuing an amateur boxing and a professional boxing career. And once I got finished, the career was over, I had to find something that I would love doing.
How old were you when you were boxing though?
I was in my 20s, my teens, you know. I boxed for about 10 years, you know, 10 years as an amateur and a professional fighter.
Do you still train just to keep your...
Oh, every day, you know. I mean, that keeps my condition, that keeps me, you know, mentally stable, keeps me together, you know.
I did not know that.
Yeah.
And you told me off camera something else I didn't know. Since I'm segueing, you told me how we originally met, which I do not remember, but I want you to tell everybody else.
Years ago, it was a show that we used to have called Faces Going Places. Dee Epplestein from Greystone Marco Models. You was in a band. You had a band, and y'all was the opening act for the fashion shows that she used to give in New York City. And that's how I met you. I was like, wow, this girl can sing. The band is so good. And then I used to give fashion shows in New York City, and I hired you to be on my opening act for my fashion show because y'all was so good, you know. And that's where I know you from, you know, from way back. And that's like, whew, at least 30 years ago.
All right, so
we going back.
Okay, so I'm gonna bring it up any old way. I wasn't going to, but I want to now. So, how did you get the Playgirl gig? And I think that's what kind of introduced you to like the entire world.
I had been working before that. That just gave me a little more excitement. You know, how did I get it? It was an open call for Playgirl magazine. They was looking for the first black man to be on the cover and do the magazine layout. And I went in. I went in and took some test shots, and they called me back and said, look, we want to use you for the centerfold and the cover. And at the time, I was like, wow, this is interesting, because it was a new layout. And at that time, I was like, okay, what should I do? So the first thing I did was I went to my friend, Angelo Ellaby.
I know Angelo.
Which was a mentor to me in the fashion industry, because he knew about the fashion industry. We came up in high school and grammar school together. So I went to talk to him, and at that time, he was a publicist for different actors and people in the business. And he knew more about this whole modeling thing than me. And I went to him for some advice, and he said, well, Shaheed, you could do more for your career than hurt your career. And I made the decision. Well, I didn't have that long to make a decision, because they were saying, look, if you don't take it now, we're going to go to the next person. And at that time, I said, well, okay, let's do it.
So you were the first African-American man to appear on the cover?
Yes, I believe so. I was the first.
You were so humble. I want to smack you with my paper. I really do.
Yeah.
That's quite a milestone, though.
You know, I don't know. I mean, you know, some people say it is. I really don't know. You know, so, you know, when you're doing these things, you really don't know how big they are, because you think it's like, I mean, one thing about the industry, it's very hard to get jobs, because you have to be at your best at all the time. You have to be the right piece to the puzzle. What I'm trying to say is that a lot of things come to me because I really, you know, study. I really work hard. I study the people that were before me. I study the people that come behind me. I study the people that's in the now, because that makes me better. So I don't know how good I am, but when I get the job, it's like I'm just grateful to the creator for being able to allow me to work in this industry, because, you know, this type of stuff, you don't have to do this. You can get a job every day. This is really, nobody needs to be on the cover. Nobody needs to be doing a TV show. You can really just live your life common. So this is something that we love doing. This is why we do it, because we actually love, you know, being in front of the camera and stuff like that. So when I chose that and I do it, I don't know what the effect it has, the imagery, but I just love doing it. So I'm just grateful. That's why I'm so humble.
Being the first to do anything is always good.
Oh yeah, definitely opens
And how
the
many
door.
years ago did you do that?
Oh, that was in the 80s.
Yeah.
That was in the 80s.
The first person to, that's
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah.
To be the first
Is it?
to
Well,
break a barrier for a black man? Oh,
yeah, I mean,
absolutely.
well, in them days, you know, it's just being in a magazine was great, you know, let alone doing a cover or just doing
And covers
any
were
type
hard
of
to
stuff,
get
you know.
back then
Yeah.
for us.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, we didn't back then. We had, I think, EM, we had Ebony Man, we had Essence. That's all we had.
Have you been on the cover for Essence before?
No, I've never been on the cover. I've been in many layouts, but I've never been on the cover.
Okay. What other covers have you been on? I'm curious.
BE, the Love Romance covers. I've done numerous covers. In my career, I know I at least done about 150 covers somewhere down the line. At least.
Really?
Yeah, covers and commercial ads, car ads. I've done, you know, I've been blessed. You know,
Yes, you have.
Yeah, I've been blessed. I mean, from where I come from, the streets of Newark, New Jersey, on the corners, you know, I actually just hanging out with guys on the corner was being able to just turn your life around and say, wow, okay, I'm not going to be a drug dealer. I'm not going to be no gangster. I'm going to go in the industry and try to make it. And you know how hard it is to really like make it, all the rejections you get?
In
That's
this
a
industry,
tough
absolutely.
It's a tough industry. If you can't get past the rejections, you just forget about it.
Yeah, don't even come in. Because it's not personal. You're just
No,
not the
no,
right
not
fit for the
personally,
product.
Just not the right fit. And it's funny that you mentioned that because in the beginning, I thought it was personal. I'm like, well, I look just as good as any other of these guys. But it's not that. It's more so how you create, you know, what you do with these pictures in front of you, what you do with the camera in front of you, all those type of things. It's
And that's the wisdom that comes after
that's the
you've been in
wisdom.
the business
Everybody
for a
think it's
while.
the good looks, but no, that helps. But the creation, the people that create you, the makeup artists, the stylists, all these people that help you become who you are, you know, that's a big help.
And you can't take it personally because you may be the best looking person in the room, but the producer may not feel
Right.
like you're right for their product.
Yeah, you might not be the right for that puzzle. So it's on with the next one.
There you go. And if you can't let it roll off your back, you're absolutely correct. You might as well just
All these things.
go
I
work
had
at a
to-
bank or something.
I was coming from thuggery, you know, streetology. I was coming from that whole atmosphere where, you know, you're going to make it that way or you're going to die at the age of 21, you know, being from Newark, New Jersey, you know, it's a rough town, you know.
You know, I'm sitting here staring at you and I'm going, I so do not see you,
No.
that other person.
Oh,
I so don't see that when I look
Well,
at you.
you know, I always say my real friends are from the streets, you know, because, you know, that's how we came up. But in the industry, it's like a whole new aspect of people who you deal with, you know, like it's totally different. I don't really have too many friends in the industry where I could say, well, you know, I could sit, you know, really like I could rap to my friends that come from the streets. It's a totally different conversation. And you could really like lay down and not be the person you have to be in front of the camera. You could really lay down and say, okay, what's going on? How's your life? What's happening? You know, who you see, stuff like that, you know, real talk.
Do you have any advice that you could share with, because you know, I don't know if you've been paying attention, but the whole male modeling industry is changing now. And they're doing big and tall men, something that they weren't really doing before. Apparently they were treating them the same way they treated plus size female models. They weren't getting much shine, but now that industry is changing and they're sort of catering to them now. And I have a couple of plus size male friends and I see them doing really, really stupid things on social media. So what kind of advice would you give to brothers who want to, and not just black men, but men in general who want to break into this business?
Well, I like to say this, if you into the arts, any type of arts, it's like with so much going on today with all this racism, stuff like that, what do you really want to say? Do you really want to get on Facebook and electro media and do all this stuff, dumb stuff? Because years from now, your kids gonna see it, whoever's gonna see it gonna say, well, you know, what did you contribute? You know, where did your talent go? What was you trying to say? You know, I just seen a football player the other day. He said some dumb stuff, totally out of just crazy. I'm like, and he got everybody on Facebook. He was and he's gonna be a Hall of Famer. And for him to say what he said on Facebook and electro media, it's like crazy what he said. Now you have all these people commenting on what he said. Just takes his whole...
And anytime you try to segue away from that, maybe you realize the error of your ways, you want to take it back, it's always going to be out there for somebody to throw it in your face.
It's tough because art is supposed to say something. Do you really want to say something, or do you don't want to say something? You just want to be stupid. We've been singing and dancing long enough. Now we got to use that singing and dancing to take us to a higher level. And if it can help, then you do it. But for the young brothers out here that's trying to do something, study them before you, study them after you, and just study how the industry makes those who you want to be like, or somebody, because everybody wants to be like somebody.
That's why I came up with this show.
Everybody wants to be like somebody. But you're never going to be like that somebody. You're going to be yourself. You could take all the ingredients from all these different people that are great, or people that's trying to be great, and you could become yourself, which is great. The Lord gives us all talent to be able to do things. We have to be able to use the talent before it's all over, because when we go to the Creator, He's going to say, what you did with the talent.
There you go. There you go. Okay.
Like I always say to myself now, I'm 63 years old. So I always say to myself, I'm 63. So I say to myself, if I get another 20 years, I'm good. But I want to be able to go to the Lord and say, this is what I did. This is what I did with this talent that you gave me. So that's how I deal with it.
You'll get in. You'll get in. Now let's talk about your filmmaking. So you did that first film.
Yeah.
I need to know, because I have documentaries in my head that I want to write. So how do you go about getting funding and all that stuff?
Well, I never really, funding is paperwork. You have to get somebody that knows about paperwork to get funding. Or you have to be popular enough to know or be able to deliver the right lines to ask for somebody to give you money. They have all these things like Indigo.com. They have all this stuff that you can ask for money as an artist to get money. I never really wanted to go that way. I've always been a quote unquote type of proud guy. So I always made my own money. And I believe in myself enough to put out what I have to make my own film. So if you believe in something and you think about something long enough, your mind will find a way to get there, to get it. You just got to work on it hard enough. But like I say, if you got some friends that got a couple of dollars, you got to, something like that, or you can go in the directory and call up all the doctors and all the lawyers in the community that you live in and say, look, I'm doing a film. Can you help me with a couple of dollars? They got a few dollars laying around to spare. So, if you get 20 doctors with $200-300, you got a little money to be able to start a movie. But movies are very expensive,
How much? Ballpark. Just let's say you're doing it with the bare minimum.
I always tell somebody like this. It's like this. If you want a car, you can get one for $100, or you can go get a Rolls Royce, cost you $100,000. Which one you want? Because both of them going to get you the same place, but it's how you're going to get there. So movies are the same. It's like you could shoot a movie with your iPhone or your phone these days, or you could get you a camera that costs you $100,000, and you can shoot it with that. But you know which one is going to look the best and which one the people might buy into. Not to say that you can't be that creative enough to be able to get the right, ideas for people to buy into. Your creativity, that's something that you can't buy. It's just something that comes from the creator, and you yourself, you indulge into it and make it happen. Today, there's so many crazy things that sells big. You look at these commercials on TV, all of them is crazy. But people look at them, it draws attention. So the crazier the world is, the crazier things you see, everybody is talking about it, and that's what sells. Remember before it used to be sex sell, now it's crazy to sell.
You ain't never lied about that. So now, how do you come up with the scripts for or the storyline for your movies?
Well, what I like is interesting things that happen in people's lives. What I'll do is I'll look at something, or I'll listen to somebody, what happened to their life, or I'll see something like when I did Smooth the Game Is Dead. That was based on a friend of mine that I grew up with. Mm-hmm. That was his story. The Turtleneck Gang. It was the same. It was some friends of mine. These are some of my friends. One of my friends was a drug dealer. And a couple of my other friends were bank robbers. The Red Bow Tie. Some of my friends I won an award on that. They was hook artists. What I mean, they would go out and switch jewelry and sell people fake jewelry for forcery. So all these people I kind of like knew. So they always say that you write about what you know about, so I was writing about what I know about on the people that would give me answers, give me stories and things, and I put it together and started writing my scripts. That's how I did it.
You gonna do a movie on fashion?
I thought about that. I don't even know where to begin at. And I don't want to write about my life.
Why?
I just don't. If somebody I'd rather for somebody else to do it. They say you're kind of bold when you write about just you, and I'm not that bold.
But who tells the story of you better than you?
I don't know. Maybe, when it's all over said and done, I might be great enough for somebody to write something about me.
You know what? Oh, okay. Okay. I'm gonna let that slide because that's a story. Mm. Your story, my mother just gave me the same speech about myself.
Right.
Your life is fascinating to everyone except you. You don't think it's very much, but to someone who is trying to do what you're doing, that's a story they need to read.
It's funny that you mentioned that because it's to me on the outside, it's never exciting, but on the inside, I'm very excited whatever kind of gig I get. I'm very excited about who I'm working with, what kind of idea they come up with, how to make this thing hatch, how to make this thing come out of this 9 months preparation, or how to make it grow. But at the end of the day, I go home, my wife would be like, take the garbage out. You know what I'm saying? So it's one of them type of things. It's like, okay, that puts me back in perspectives. Like, sometimes I'll be home and I'll be like, shh, I'm not the plumber. I'm not the garbage man, but she don't get that. They don't swing with her, And coming from a city like Newark, New Jersey, it's like Newark is a very tough city. And, you can have superstars walking around, they don't care. It's like, ain't nothing. He ain't getting me nothing, it don't mean nothing, So, it's it's tough, but I'm very grateful to be able to.
Yeah, and you're gonna write this book. I don't care what you say. You're not gonna write it yourself, but you're gonna tell it to somebody and have them write it for you.
I would love to tell that story. I just don't know where to start out because I could tell you some stories about the fashion industry.
This what I'm talking
about. How we came up and what we did, and all the things we did.
And I can tell you who can help you with that because you know them. Angelo Allaby.
Oh yeah, Angelo, my boy.
So you need to give him a call.
Yeah. But you know what? Angelo is so busy, and I'm so busy. It's like just being able to get together and just do it. That's the whole thing.
You just gotta put
just
it out
ask,
there.
Right?
Don't have to be today.
I'll do that.
But
you
put
hear
it
me,
out
Angelo?
there.
You out there? Come on, let's write that movie. But we've been talking about doing his documentary, and I just, like what happens is when you start to do something. What I do is like if I'm going to do something like that, it's like I can use my own money, but when somebody else is calling me for another job, it's like, let me go to this job, I'll come back to that. So what happens, I get kind of like stretched. It's like, you got to go with the money there because that pays the bills.
I get it.
And then you got to put that to the back end. So that's the only thing. If somebody was to put the money up front and say, let's do it, then we have time to I could take off here and just do that.
But it all comes in God's time.
But I would love to do that.
But it's there, I'm telling you.
I thought about doing a documentary on the industry where we came from, because a lot of people don't realize that Greystone Walker was the first black model agency in New York City, and Ophelia DeVore was one of
Charm School, and
Charm
boy,
School.
do we need that now.
Everybody came through there. Diane Carroll, Richard Roundtree, many great actors and models came from out of her agency.
Yeah,
So
is she's still alive, isn't she?
No, she passed away.
Oh man.
God bless her. You know, Dee Epstein's
still alive.
Dee, she lives in Kentucky.
Oh,
You know,
okay.
I remember years ago. She was like a big mentor in my modeling industry, in my modeling career, because when I first went into the agency, she used to send me out on calls. And when I went out on the calls, there was all these great models out, like Renard White, Alan Cephas, and Rashid Severa. All those great models was out, and I used to go on the calls. I'm like, wow, there's no way in hell I'm gonna get this job because all these great models are there. And I used to go back to the office, and I used to talk to her all the time because I wanted to hear what she had to say. And I say, well, I seen so-and-so, this and that, and that. She said, so that don't mean nothing. She said, because they looking for a job just like you are. So she said, just keep your head up, go back out there, and eventually you're going to get something. And when I got something, boom, I was in the club.
And so you can put yourself along with those legendary names. You keep acting like you don't belong there, but you do.
I mean, back then, you had to be impeccable to be a model. I mean, you had to have good looks. You had to be really sharp, impeccable. You know, them guys was impeccable. I mean, just watching the imagery of them guys, you learned. You didn't have to say nothing. You just looked at them. Them guys were like, you know,
yeah,
it was great.
Trying to get both of them.
I mean, we used to go to,
show.
you know, and just doing different, just keeping busy. You know, people from the industry call me for jobs, and you know.
See, this is what I'm
just
talking about. You
blessed to be
still
working. Yeah.
How old did you say you were?
63.
63, and you still making them coins.
Well, that's the good thing about the industry is that you can work till you're 90 years old. And the older you get, I think the more you need it because they don't have, it's hard to get an antique. You know, so the older you get, if you keep yourself in condition and sharp enough, they'll use you. That's what I realized.
Okay, I'm gonna stop you right there. All right, everybody, we are just about out of time. I would like to thank my guest, Shaheed Shaheed, for sharing his industry knowledge with us today. Now, before I go, as always, I want to leave you with a few thoughts. I want you to, one, remember that you can't change the game until you first learn the game. Always surround yourself with positive people and positive things. Do what you love and love what you do. And lastly, be who you are, but be who you are tastefully. Always have some class about yourself. And don't forget to like us on Facebook and follow us on Instagram, Twitter, and Pinterest. Thanks for watching Model Behavior, and I'll see you guys next week. Class is officially dismissed. Bye, y'all.